You love your child more than anything in the world. You do anything to protect them, to see them thrive, to watch them grow into confident, capable adults. But what if some of the things you're doing with the best intentions are actually having the opposite effect? Let's talk about the parenting habits that might be secretly undermining your child's sense of security, even when you think you're helping. First, let's address the comparison trap. It seems so innocent, doesn't it? Saying things like, "Your sister finished her homework already?" Or, "Why can't you be more like your cousin?" Or even, "When I was your age, I never struggled with math like you do." In your mind, you might think you're motivating them, giving them something to aspire to. But here's what your child actually hears. "You're not good enough as you are. Someone else is better than you. I wish you were different." Every time you compare your child to someone else, you're teaching them that love and acceptance are conditional. They start to believe that who they are fundamentally isn't enough, that they need to be someone else to earn your approval. This creates a deep-seated insecurity that can follow them into adulthood, always measuring themselves against others, always coming up short in their own minds. Now let's talk about overprotection. This one is tricky because it comes from such a place of love. You don't want your child to fail, to get hurt, to feel disappointed, so you step in. You do their science project because they're struggling. You call their teacher to fix every little problem. You don't let them climb that tree because they might fall. You solve every conflict with their friends before they even try. But here's the thing. When you constantly rescue your child, you're sending them a powerful message. "I don't think you can handle this. You're not capable. The world is too dangerous for you." Children need to struggle. They need to fail. They need to figure things out on their own. That's how they build resilience and confidence. When you rob them of these opportunities, you're actually creating anxiety and dependence. They grow up believing they can't trust themselves to navigate challenges. Let's move on to a really subtle one: dismissing their emotions. Your child comes to you crying because their friend said something mean, and you say, "You're fine. It's not a big deal," or "Stop being so sensitive," or "You'll get over it." Maybe your teenager is stressed about an exam, and you tell them they're overreacting. Perhaps your little one is scared of the dark, and you say there's nothing to be afraid of, just go to sleep. You think you're helping them toughen up, teaching them not to sweat the small stuff. But what you're actually teaching them is that their feelings don't matter, that their emotional experience isn't valid, that something is wrong with them for feeling what they feel. This creates children who grow into adults who don't trust their own emotional responses, who suppress their feelings until they explode, who feel deeply insecure about their inner world. Here's another big one: conditional love and approval. You might not realize you're doing this, but think about the language you use. Do you praise your child more when they succeed than when they try? Do you show more affection after they win the game than after they lose? Do you light up when they bring home good grades but go quiet when they struggle? Do you say things like, "I'm so proud of you," only when they achieve something? Children are incredibly perceptive. They notice patterns, and if the pattern they notice is that your love, pride, and attention increase when they perform well and decrease when they don't, they learn that love is something they have to earn. They become terrified of failure because failure means losing your approval. This creates people-pleasing, perfectionist adults who are never satisfied with themselves, who tie their entire self-worth to achievement, who are deeply insecure about being loved for who they are, rather than what they do. Let's talk about being inconsistent with boundaries and discipline. One day you let something slide, the next day you explode over the same thing. Sometimes bedtime is 8 o'clock. Sometimes it's whenever. One parent says yes, the other says no, and you contradict each other in front of the child. You make rules and then don't follow through. This inconsistency is incredibly unsettling for children. They need to know what to expect. They need to understand cause and effect. They need to feel like the world has some order to it. When you're unpredictable, it creates anxiety. Your child never knows which version of you they're going to get, so they're always walking on eggshells, always trying to read your mood, always insecure about where they stand. Here's one that's becoming increasingly common: overscheduling and pushing too hard. Your child is in soccer, piano, tutoring, art class, and debate club. Every minute of their day is planned. You're constantly rushing from one activity to another. When they express that they're tired or want to quit something, you push them to keep going, to not be a quitter, to maximize their potential. The message this sends is that simply existing isn't enough, that downtime is wasteful, that they're only valuable when they're productive and achieving. Children need unstructured time to play, to be bored, to figure out who they are when nobody's telling them what to do. Without this, they become adults who don't know how to relax, who tie their entire identity to busyness, who feel deeply insecure when they're not constantly accomplishing something. Let's address a painful one, using guilt as a manipulation tool. After everything I've done for you, this is how you treat me? Or, you're breaking my heart? Or, I sacrifice so much and you can't even do this one thing for me. Maybe you sigh heavily and say you're fine when you're clearly not. Making your child responsible for your emotional state. When you guilt trip your child, you're teaching them that they're responsible for other people's feelings, that their own needs are less important than keeping others happy. That love comes with debt. This creates adults who have terrible boundaries, who feel guilty for having their own wants and needs, who are constantly anxious about disappointing others. Another subtle habit, not apologizing or admitting when you're wrong. You snap at your child because you had a bad day at work. You accuse them of something and later realize you were mistaken. You make a decision that turns out to be unfair, but you don't apologize. Maybe you justify it with, I'm the parent, or you just move on and pretend it didn't happen. Children need to see that adults make mistakes too, and that the right thing to do is acknowledge it and apologize. When you don't, you're modeling that admitting fault is weakness, that some people are above accountability. This makes children insecure about their own mistakes because they've learned that mistakes mean you lose authority and respect rather than that mistakes are a normal part of being human. Let's talk about living vicariously through your child. You push them into the sport you loved but never excelled at. You pressure them toward the career you wish you'd pursued. You get more invested in their achievements than they are. Your mood depends on whether they won or lost, whether they got the lead in the play, whether they got into the right school. This one is about you, not them, and children can feel it. They sense that they're supposed to fulfill something for you, that they're not allowed to have their own dreams and identity separate from your expectations. This creates profound insecurity about who they really are versus who they're supposed to be. Here's one that many well-meaning parents fall into, focusing too much on appearance, constantly commenting on your child's looks, their weight, what they eat, making them feel like appearance is the most important thing about them. This doesn't just mean criticism. Even constant compliments about how pretty or handsome they are can make them feel like their value lies in their looks. Children who grow up with too much focus on appearance become adults who are deeply insecure about their bodies, who tie their worth to how they look, who are terrified of aging, who can't believe they're loved for anything beyond the surface. And finally, not giving them your full presence. You're physically there but mentally somewhere else. You're scrolling through your phone while they're trying to tell you about their day. You're distracted during dinner, half listening while planning tomorrow. You say, uh-huh, without actually hearing them. Children interpret this as, I'm not important enough to deserve your attention. What I have to say doesn't matter. They grow up feeling like they're too much, like they're bothering people simply by existing, like they need to perform or be in crisis to deserve attention. So what can you do instead? Celebrate your child for who they are, not in comparison to anyone else. Let them struggle and fail and learn they can survive it. Validate their emotions even when you don't understand them. Love them unconditionally, especially when they mess up. Be consistent and follow through. Give them space to breathe and discover themselves. Own your mistakes and apologize. Let them have their own dreams. Focus on character over appearance. And be present, really present, even if it's just for a few minutes a day. Your child doesn't need you to be perfect. They just need you to see them, accept them, and trust them to grow into who they're meant to be. That's where real security is built.